Well, hello. Here I am. Oh, I bet you didn't expect this, huh? So, yeah, this is the change of tactics, so to speak. Now, that's me again. So, good old me, who still tries to survive and, yeah, do the thing which I'm doing. And today I want to address a couple of the issues, including tactical ones. And people write me all kinds of stuff, both in on Patreon and in the comment section of my videos, and they give me all kinds of advice, and some of them are good advices. Make no mistake, I do not ignore them. But the fact is, some people say, "Oh, you have to script it." Actually, I do script things which I do, but sometimes I need to address one or two points. Sometimes, as you probably saw, a couple of times I showed you even my plans on paper, I have to address like 5 and 6. Then I script it and kind of make some key points. But point is that people expect from me to probably describe a little bit more about tactical issues. But I will repeat, I'm not going to be original whatsoever. I'm going to repeat this old truism that while amateurs discuss tactics, professionals discuss logistics. And that's what I'm going to talk about it. My friend Larry Johnson, and please, if those who go to my blog, you can see in my blog roll his personal blog, which is excellent. He wrote yesterday an excellent piece, as always, Larry does. But he was saying that, yeah, we've been mistaken. We thought that it would be over in a couple, 3 weeks, or maybe a month, but it's not over. It is not over. And but I radically disagree with Mr. Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said that it's going to be like for years. No, it's not going to be for years. But here we come to this fundamental issue, and that's the strategic operational issue. Tactics goes below it, and we'll talk about it. Just give me a minute to explain. Again, wars and victories in wars, they are defined not by the amount of banners, as quoting Leo Tolstoy, you take from the enemy. It's by the achieving of the political objectives of the war. And I, not gonna lie, I was also surprised, because I thought that when NATO and United States especially finally pushed Ukraine to such a degree against Russia that Russia couldn't avoid it, couldn't avoid invasion anymore. I thought that would be, yeah, they will go and get to the original administrative borders of the Lugansk and Donetsk republics, and then will stop, they will bomb a little bit, and that will be it. I myself was surprised by the scope and scale of operation when we started to get first reports and basically of what Russians were doing in terms of this operation on the ground. And when obviously you have the people already, paratroopers and special forces jumping near the Gostomel, near Kiev, it's like, wow, so they went for the jugular. Yes, but here is the point. You have to understand what the objective is, and I will reiterate it over and over again. The objective, as Vladimir Putin himself stated, there are two of them: demilitarization and denazification. As I'm not going to talk about denazification process. That one will be protracted. But in terms of demilitarization, when it became clear that Russia went much deeper and in much broader scale than anybody was anticipating, me included, it becomes clear that nobody really knows what their plan is. We can only speculate, and most of what has been in the Western media and part of it in Russian media are pure speculation. But here are some important facts which you have to review, and they are actually tactical operational plans. Everybody loves to talk about, which is, I talk about it too, so that, oh yeah, Russia is in the war with the combined West. Yes, it's absolutely true. It's much larger geopolitical struggle than merely operation in Ukraine, Syria. Anybody remembers that country? Among many others. But here's the deal. Demilitarization, the way it goes on right now, it becomes clear that one of the major objectives has been indeed demilitarization, as in completely destroying military-industrial complex of Ukraine and its armed forces. So in this particular case, all those, analysts, especially from the neocon think tanks like, Institute for Study of War, which are it's sophomoric and absolutely butthurt so-called analysis. It's laughable that people who wear the epaulets of the highest officers, like Petraeus or General Kim, continue to spew this bullshit. But truth is, couple of facts. Just today, well, no, not today, yesterday, once Russia withdrew its forces, which actually did a lot of damage around Kiev, and moved them towards the eastern Ukraine or Donbass pocket, where by different estimates is between 60 to 80,000, well, now probably less because operation continues, of the best VSU brigades is concentrated. And obviously the cauldron is closing now and a reduction already started. People say, oh, it's going to be just a huge battle. It's already a huge battle. It's just the fact that Russia has now enough forces there to completely finish the job. And of course, everybody was saying, oh, but let's NATO and United States supply all kinds of the hardware to Ukraine to fight, war to the last Ukrainians. They were trying to do that. But as you know, any kind of serious war, especially war of this scale, it's a huge scale, and combined arms war, and against well-entrenched enemy, is based on the supply lines. And the fact that Russia already achieved in the first 2 weeks of this operation, denying VSU practically any kind of maneuver, was confirmed yesterday when the equipment, which was the big equipment, not the one which you can transport by the, light trucks or even, just regular cars. The issue was that at Lazovaya station near Kharkov and at Zhytomyr, 2 railroad stations were destroyed, not in a sense of destroying the building of the station, nobody cares about that, but they were destroyed in terms of blowing out number of the rail rolling stock, and of course the rails themselves. And we can only assume right now how much damage was done, but that also, together with the military equipment which was destroyed there, which was reserves, which Ukraine tried to deliver to the basically surrounded cauldron now, it tells you exactly what is going on. But if this is clear in operational sense, Russia will not allow any kind of hardware to get into the eastern Ukraine or in Donbass, because Russia simply has enough power and enough the command of the skies and has standoff weapons. So this all is done for them primarily PR purposes, and as Alex Christoforou yesterday described, the desperate attempts of Victoria Nuland and all this neocon cabal to try to fight the war to the last Ukrainian against the Russians is not going to work like they thought it would. It's already is not working like it is. And there is another major issue here. Russia indeed destroys military-industrial complex of Ukraine. The demilitarization proceeds actually apace. Apart from destroying those key knots, so to speak, nodes of the supply lines, which preclude now the arrival of any kind of reinforcements, whatever they were, which are not really big reinforcements to start with, or combat effectives. Now the list was published, and people started to talk about the list of the military plant which was destroyed by Russia in the last 40 days. And it's stunning. Basically, if you look attentively at what was taken out, starting from famous Malyshev plant in Kharkov, which is famous tractor plant, which actually a tank plant. Russia already denied by destroying something on the order of 400 large and medium-sized plants, basically any ability for Ukraine to build own armored equipment, be that armored personnel carriers, let alone tanks, let alone good tanks, and of course practically any kind of the aviation repair and aviation production, which was, by the way, in the Gostomel field near Kiev, which Russians took immediately in the first days of this operation, you begin to understand that basically Ukraine has nothing really. And now, in terms of the oil or crude processing plants, yes, the last of them was blown apart a couple of days ago, and now Ukraine doesn't have real crude processing plants, so it doesn't have the oil or fuel for its tanks and whatever is left of its air assets, which are primarily helicopters, because they are much easier to obviously hide than aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft, and fixed-wing aircrafts have been destroyed utterly by Russia, and I don't think so there are many left at all. Maybe some skeletons which are stayed in those air repair plants, all of which were basically destroyed. So you look at this and it's like, wow, they're not only not going to be able to produce fuel or serious hardware, the ammunition manufacturing capability of Ukraine was also pretty much destroyed, or almost destroyed. So we're looking at, yeah, absolute squeezing and annihilation of the military-industrial complex, and after that, as I already stated, we will see, well, we're already seeing it. People just may not know this, and especially when you look at the YouTube, which is filled with fakes and by all kinds of people who, I mean, some of them probably Intel assets, others that just PR, junkies, others just do it for the sake of monetization. So we're looking at the situation where, yeah, it's over, guys. I mean, the only thing which will take some time will be denazification, but the news which are arriving today from already liberated territories, they testify to the fact that not only the process of rebuilding and cleaning the rubble started, but social structure is being restored really fast, such as beginning not only humanitarian aid, but even a restoration of the just wholesale and retail, and even transportation. And some people now use the buses, which are intercity buses, which drive in the liberated territories, and this wasn't the case for a long time, for 8 years practically. And of course, I need to address this, well, rumor or not rumor, but I think so, judging by the amount of helicopters Russia shoots down at the approach to Mariupol, namely to the Azovstal, and yesterday another two were shut down. There are somebody really important which are surrounded in this Azovstal plant, where about 3,500 remnants of the Azov Nazi battalion and VSU units are concentrated now and being reduced. And some people say, and again, don't quote me on that, I merely say that there are rumors, or maybe not very well confirmed information, that number of the NATO advisors have been already caught there, and that some people say that, you know what, they are already in Crimea and they have already appropriate people talking to them. So that will be very interesting, because tentatively the start of the War Crimes Tribunal is, well, the date for its start is tentatively June. Starting June. That will be very interesting, and I'm sure, I'm pretty sure, at some point of time somebody from NATO will appear there as the POWs, well, and will testify on behalf of Russian side. And that also explains this desperation of Nuland trying to scavenge whatever she can together with Mr. Jake Sullivan, whatever the hardware they can scavenge. And as Alex Christoforou yesterday stated, they went for Greece and Cyprus. They hope to get their hands on Cyprus's Tor M1 air defense complexes and some whatever they have there, I don't know, some BMP-1 or 2 maybe. So, well, they are not going to change anything. And that is that when we go back to a little bit of tactics. Oh my gosh, United States applied 100 switchblade loitering ammunition, and it would have been really impressive. It would have been somewhere in, Syria at some point of time, not anymore, or Libya. This will make no difference whatsoever. It's a good PR, and it's good PR for re-election of many people in Congress, in the Senate, and showing how tough they are against Russia. But point is, the United States cannot possibly deliver anything which will make any difference whatsoever. And I'm talking about General Petraeus. I just go back a couple of weeks ago when he stated that, yeah, we need to send, game-changing hardware. Does even General Petraeus understand what game-changing means in the war with Russia? I think so he doesn't. Because obviously, in this case, the only thing which you can kind of game change is to place 1 million strong, well-equipped, and well defended from the air, which is not the case anyway, NATO army, and even that is the issue of, it's going to end up very badly for them. But at this stage, I don't know. It's all about PR. It's all about elections and, internal policies of the NATO and European Union countries. And that should be stated very clearly. And that brings us to the second, so to speak, stage of this. While we may discuss what Switchblade can do, yeah, it can fly, it can be shot down, and it can be shot down by other loitering ammunition, which Russia has a lot. But they have to understand that whatever javelins, which by the way performed bizarrely bad, tremendously ineffective in the real war, or whatever they send, except for the Stingers, because Stingers could be used against the civilian aircraft. They obviously don't understand what they're doing there. But whatever they send changes nothing. But if it creates a little bit more difficulty, you have to understand that, and I am constantly on record with that, this is the global struggle. This is a huge struggle. And Ukraine is just one link in this whole chain event, if you wish. Do not forget that the United States have bases around the world. One of those bases is in the city of Tanf, which is in Syria, which is illegally occupied by the United States. So, well, just to explain to people, Iran already showed it in 2020 when it simply blew up, the whole U.S. base in Middle East. Well, the same can happen to U.S. troops elsewhere in the Middle East, because some people may get their really advanced Russian weapons. And most likely they will, if not already. So it's a very, very interesting game on the part of the West. And when it is being looked at and viewed within the framework of the global conflict, which, by the way, China Global Times and China Times actually wrote, addressing to Europe, Europeans, you don't understand that Russia is fighting for your survival. And I quote, actually, that's what they but Europe doesn't understand. And the issue here that Ukraine is being finished as I talk to you, and how long it will take more, I don't know now. But I know that the most, I don't know how much in percentage, 60, 65, maybe 70, maybe 80% of military industrial complex in Ukraine is already either finished off or is being finished, except for the two major plants. And that explains you a little bit about this original plan. Till today, when most of those some of them fairly high tech, they're still 90s plants, but they produced some things. Two plants which haven't been touched was the Motor Sich, major engine making company in Ukraine, and of course Yuzhmash, the plant which in the Soviet times was producing the intercontinental ballistic missiles, including famous SS-20 Satan, which is Voyevoda in Russian. And These plans haven't been touched. And China, of course, as you know, tried to purchase Motor Siege a couple of years ago. It was sabotaged, and it was blocked. The whole sale was blocked by the United States because the United States is afraid of for China getting hands of fairly advanced, not as advanced as, let's say, Russian engines, but good enough engines, especially for the aircraft. And that was a huge problem. Now, this plant hasn't been done yet. I doubt Russia will attack it. And so goes for the Yuzhmash, which, by the way, was there was a lot of Western, especially American specialists, kind of revolving around this Yuzhmash plant. And these are strategic enterprises. And depending on how it goes, that will be a hint in coming days and weeks if Russia begins to really blow them apart. But at this stage, I think so they are not touched deliberately. This is a good value. You don't want to completely destroy it. And indeed, Russia tries to basically take care and not destroy as much of civilian infrastructure as she can. And that is the whole picture today in terms of, it's not even the picture. I cannot give the picture, whole picture in the 20-25 minute video because it will require hours and hours of description. And that's what I want to speak a little bit more about. People expecting me to give lectures on tactics in terms of, oh, here's the tactics, here's how they attack, and this is how they use weapons, this is how the distances and ranges they approach, and things of this nature. Guys, first, it's impossible to do this in videos, unless you have to go to full interactive. But secondly, don't expect me to give these lectures because that will take hours and hours explaining this. And just to give you a good pointer, if you really want to learn, at least in general, how Russians fight wars, there is an excellent treatise by Mr. Lester Grau, Lieutenant Colonel Lester Grau, which is called The Russian Way of War. You can go online and you can download it for free. And it's a good book, it's a good treatise. It's obviously by far not the full, but it gives this primer on the tactics and even some peek into the operations, how Russians operate. Of course, there are also the old, combat, not old really, 2005, they didn't change that much except that modern combat manuals, they involve more net centricity and, of course, things of much more advanced communications matters, and they are classified. But you can download for free and in Russian though, and this will be still fairly updated combat manuals on the level from platoon to company. I believe you cannot do the battalion. I'm not sure battalion is declassified, but you can find them in Russian and start just basically, plug them into Google and read. Many things which you will read there are valid today, except for, of course, the very specific tactical tricks and, so to speak, which are done locally, depending, situationally, depending what is required in any particular tactical episode or tactical situation. Because the taking of the five-story building which is surrounded, and 9-story building which is not surrounded and has the rear open for supply are two very different things, and they require very different methods. But this is the level of the maximum platoon commander decision, tactical decision on how to approach it. That's that thing which I wanted to tell you. So don't expect me to read lectures on especially infantry tactics if anybody expects me to do that. And again, go and download Lester Grau's excellent treatise, The Russian Way of War. It's out there. Feel free to download it. It will give you a good primer, good kind of, understanding of a very, very basic things. Then, of course, in terms of geopolitics, well, that's what I do. I discuss geopolitical matters and I try to tie them together with tactical and primarily operational issues. As I already stated, I'm not really interested in tactics per se. I know how weapons work, and so should you. But operationally, let alone strategically, that's the interesting puzzle. That's the interesting thing to ponder and consider, because that's the only, so to speak, line of thought, if you wish, and collection of facts on the operational and strategic level, which can give you the good impression, what is the plan? Here's the plan. We get it, at least part of it. And at this stage, I want to reiterate that I think, and especially it became clear again in the first days in March, that actually the plan is indeed to completely demolish fully Ukrainian military machine. And then, well, that's the part which I don't want to speculate as of now. Will Russia try to control whole of Ukraine? I can tell you that. That's not excluded at all. And we need to look, and again, as I said, I have to constantly reiterate this point. It's very fluid, and nearest week or so will tell us pretty much where it is all going. So, sorry, that is it for today, guys. And as always, please do not forget to subscribe, and those who can afford to support me on the Patreon. And I'll talk to you later, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.